There is a tough question that everyone is asking. That is Kithure Kindiki and Geoffrey Roku being sidelined from William Ruto's government. Are they being sidelined from Ruto's inner circle? That is the question. And equally, there is some rumor saying that the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki's head of communication and a personal assistant was removed from State House WhatsApp group at wee hours of the night at 4:13 a.m. What is being cooked behind the scenes? Those are the same questions that everyone is asking, whether the goose of Geoffrey Roku and also Kithure Kindiki are being cooked secretly. Now, this has emerged after a poster advertising the upcoming Mbeere North Education Day has sparked fresh political discussion over the positions of Deputy President Kithure Kindiki and Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Roku within President William Ruto's political network, after both leaders were left out of promotional material for the event despite their strong political ties to the region. The event is scheduled to take place on Friday, 31 July 2026 at the Siakago Primary School grounds in Mbeere North. It will be hosted by the area Member of Parliament Leo Wamthende and has already attracted significant national political attention after Presidential Special Projects Advisor Dennis Itumbi confirmed that he will attend. What might ordinarily have been viewed as a routine education event has now become the subject of political scrutiny because of the names that appear on the official poster and perhaps more importantly, those that do not. The promotional material prominently featured several senior government officials and close allies of President William Ruto. Among those listed are the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, Senator Speaker Amason Kingi, or the Senate Speaker Amason Kingi, Cabinet Secretaries Hassan Joho, Wycliffe Oparanya, Alfred Motua, Aden Duale, and William Kabogo. Ordinarily, it would be better if Geoffrey Roku and maybe Kithure Kindiki, as the Deputy President, would be on that list of the dignitaries who will attend that education day. The poster also includes President Ruto's personal assistant Farouk Kibet, Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi, and Dennis Itumbi, all figures widely regarded as influential members of President William Ruto's political circle. However, missing from the list is Deputy President Kithure Kindiki and Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruko. Their absence has immediately attracted public attention because both leaders have deep political and also regional connections to the area where the event will be held. At the same time, it is important to distinguish verified facts from political interpretation. The omission from the poster does not on itself prove that either Kindiki or Roku has been sidelined within government or excluded from President William Ruto's political network. There are several possible explanations. They may have had prior commitments on the same day. The attendance may not have been confirmed when the promotional material was prepared. It is also possible that organizers simply chose to feature only a selected group of invited leaders. But the question remains. That's where Kindiki comes from. That is where Geoffrey Roku comes from. It would be important if their names could be included in that list as the cabinet secretary and also the DP, because in the other list that the list of the leaders who will attend, all of them, they are close allies to President William Ruto. As of the time the original report was published, there was no publicly available information indicating where either Kindiki or Roku would be on Friday, July 31st. There was also no official statement suggesting that either leader had been excluded from the event or from President Ruto's inner political team. Nevertheless, political observers often pay close attention to such details because public event posters frequently serve purposes beyond advertising. They can also communicate political relationships and influence hierarchy and also access to power. And that is why this particular omission has generated discussion. For Geoffrey Roku, the significance is especially notable because Mbeere North is his former political home, and before President William Ruto appointed him as the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service in 2025, Roku represented Mbeere North in Parliament. The constituency remains closely associated with the political career, making his absence from the promotional material for a major public event in the area particularly noticeable. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki's omission has also drawn attention for different reasons, and Kindiki comes from the neighboring Tharaka Nithi County and is widely regarded as the highest-ranking government official from the Mount Kenya East region. Before becoming deputy president, they served as the senator for the Tharaka Nithi before later joining the cabinet as the Interior Cabinet Secretary, and his rise through the government has made him one of the most prominent political figures from the wider region. And because of those strong regional ties, some observers expected both Kindiki and Roku to feature prominently in publicity of an event bringing together senior national leaders in Mbeere North. Instead, the post highlights influential figures from outside the immediate region, including Farouk Kibet, Oscar Sudi, and Dennis Itumbi. Each of those individuals occupies an important place within the President William Ruto's political operation. Farouk Kibet remains one of the president's closest advisors and political aides. Oscar Sudi has consistently emerged as one of the administration's most vocal defenders in parliament and also political rallies. And also Dennis Itumbi continues to play a central role in a government communication and also presidential special projects. Therefore, the inclusion alongside the omission of Kindiki and Roku has inevitably prompted questions about the political message being conveyed, even though no official explanation has been provided. This discussion comes at a politically sensitive moment for both leaders, and in recent weeks, Kindiki and Roku have found themselves taking different public positions on one of the most closely watched debates within the Mount Kenya politics, the relationship between Mount Kenya East and Mount Kenya West. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has consistently argued against efforts to divide the region along political and geographical lines. Speaking during an event in Embu on July 22, 2026, Kindiki emphasized that the people of the region should remain united, arguing that there was no reason to create divisions among communities that share common interests and also history. The Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Roku has taken a different approach, and while rejecting claims that he is seeking to divide the region, Roku has argued that Mount Kenya East faces unique development challenges that deserve separate political attention and negotiation. Speaking on July 27th, he maintained that he was simply highlighting realities affecting counties such as Embu, Meru, Tharaka Nithi, and the neighboring areas, insisting that acknowledging those concerns should not be interpreted as an attempt to split the region politically. Although both leaders remain members of the same administration, their differing positions have placed them on opposite sides of an increasingly important regional conversation. And against the backdrop, their absence from the same political poster naturally attracts greater attention that it might have under ordinary circumstances. Political timing has also added another layer to the discussion. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has recently faced increased political pressure following UDA's heavy defeat in the Olkalau parliamentary by-election. And in the contest, the Democracy for Citizens Party (DCP) secured a decisive victory after the candidate received that 5,440 votes compared to UDA, which received 5,450 votes. The result immediately triggered renewed political debate about President William Ruto's political strategy ahead of the 2027 general election. Among the issues raised was whether Kithure Kindiki remains the strongest possible running mate for President Ruto as preparations for the next presidential contest gradually begin to take shape. Those discussions have largely remained political commentary rather than official government policy, and following the by-election, Geoffrey Roku publicly defended Deputy President Kithure Kindiki. He dismissed suggestions that President Ruto should consider replacing his deputy and argued that Kindiki remained the most suitable person to continue serving alongside the president heading into the next election cycle. the public show support was significant because it came during the period when Kindiki was facing increased political criticism following the following and also the by-election outcome. That is all for today from Kenya Lens Media, where we bring you news updates as they break. And kindly, if you are new here, consider subscribing, liking and sharing our content. Hit the notification bell so that you can be receiving notifications each and every time we bring you a new content.